All right, welcome back to another episode at the Art of Football 365. Today is episode 2. Oh, wow, I'm already off to a bad start. Today is episode 4 of season 2, segment 1. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I would love for you guys to Gronk spike that subscribe button. Hit the like button as many times as Tom Brady has appeared in the Super Bowl, which at this point in our lives feels like millions of times. And
Every year.
also, literally. And also leave a comment, just like Troy Aikman does every time Joe Buck makes no sense. All right, so yeah, we had to switch up that intro because Mahomes is great and all, but right now the GOAT remains the GOAT. So last night on Twitter, it was like 2 in the morning. I'm a night owl. I can't really sleep. So I just start brainstorming, coming up with random ideas, and I'm like, all right, let's come up with a little segment on top of our segment 1, within segment 1, that kind of keeps the fans wanting to listen to these Monday episodes, because I get that our Monday episodes are more just idea based compared to our Friday ones where we're actually interviewing a guest, and it's a little bit like more interesting to hear someone's story than just hear Gannon and I uh, ramble on. But so from now on, every Monday episode, we're going to incorporate a Mental Monday. It will be called Mental Monday every single Monday episode, and pretty much the plan is to include a quote that is centered around mental health and kind of discuss that quote and how we think that it impacts our lives. And I feel like this is a step in helping break the stigma. And Gannon and I will each have a quote, and we'll talk about those 2 quotes, and then we'll dive right into our actual segment. So the quote that I chose this week is sometimes the people around you won't understand your journey. They don't need to. It's not for them. That quote is by Jobert Botha, whoever that is. But to me, what that quote means is that we all have a unique journey in life, regardless of, like, Gannon and I want to do podcasting. He's a sports management major. I'm a physical education major with dreams of coaching. We all have our own path to take. Nobody's path's the same, so don't try to live someone else's life. Don't try to put your feet in someone else's shoes. Just be yourself. And at the end of the day, I feel like you'll be better off if you're sticking to who you are and you kind of learned yourself better in a way. So I'm like Gannon talk about his quote. We can dive into that one.
Yeah, this one was a quote that I've had in my camera roll since probably my junior year of high school, I think. And it is a vision and dreams are nice, but there has to be action and work put in. And if you have things holding you back, you have to get rid of those negative factors. And that's by the notorious Baker Mayfield. And I just love the man because besides that, I like Baker Mayfield a lot, but the quote's really good because this quote I think is good because it's not only for sports, it's also in your life. And I think that's kind of the cool thing we really try and strive in this podcast. Yeah, we slam sports down everybody's throat all the time with this, but a lot of the stuff we talk about can be put in everyday use. And the second part of that quote is why I really like it. And it says, if you have things holding you back, you have to get rid of those negative factors. And it's not as easy as just getting rid of them. I mean, I know we both have negative stuff in our life, and it's an everyday process. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. I know last week was not as good with me with baseball and some other family stuff going on, but you just got to wake up each day and try and figure out what you're trying to do to get rid of those things out of your head. And it's just a really good quote, and it's something simple, but a quote could have a lot of meanings.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think this will be a good thing to incorporate within the podcast, and having a Mental Monday, every single segment on Mondays. It'll keep the people listening at the beginning, because a lot of people don't necessarily stress mental health, but go through mental health problems, and they tend to not want to talk about them. So hearing Gannon and I open up and talk about them, I think will help them in the long run, and hopefully the short term as well. But now I want to dive into this week's segment, which is pretty much like a book review and how I will implement the strategies I've learned throughout this book into coaching. So in today's episode, we'll discuss the book that I've read and completed, which is Above the Line by Urban Meyer. And Urban Meyer's name speaks for itself. This book pretty much has greatly motivated me and has me even more eager to be a football coach. And kind of back in season 1, I touched on the book that I read about Nick Saban, which was pretty much how to develop a championship mentality. And Nick Saban's definitely the coach. If you want to learn how to develop a championship mentality, that's who you should study. I mean, the rings on his fingers speak for themselves. But in Urban Meyer's book, it kind of took that mentality to the next level. And above the line, maybe kind of a phrase that not many people would understand. But when I dive into the meaning of it, it's very complex. So for anyone who doesn't know Urban Meyer, his career kind of looks like he's coached at 4 Division I schools. That includes Bowling Green State, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State. And he is currently going to be in his first year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's had 17 years coaching overall, 187-32 record, which is a .854 percentage, which is damn good, and 3 national championships, and the achievements go on and on. So Urban Meyer, his track record kind of speaks for itself. But the above the line phrase is absolutely insane to me. It's about leadership. It's about the way you live, the way you choose to live on and off the football field. So pretty much it starts off with the book kind of talks a little bit about that every championship team is defined by leadership. Leadership is a difference maker, and quite honestly, it is that difference maker. Leadership is influence based on the trust that you have earned. So leadership doesn't just come from someone going around and yelling and screaming and holding people accountable. Holding people accountable is good and all, but if you don't have trust earned, then you're just kind of talking for fun. You're just preaching to the choir. So once you develop that level of trust with teammates, that above the line leadership mentality starts to come to fruition. So I'll let Gannon kind of chime in a little bit about this so far.
Just the leadership stuff there. There's a lot of different leaders that you need for a good, successful team, organization, job, wherever you're working at, wherever you're playing at in life. And some of those are the silent leaders. And I know sometimes I've been more of a vocal leader because I'm loud and I like to talk. Sometimes I like to hear myself talk. Let's be honest. But there are people that I really admire on my baseball team here at school that really don't say a whole lot of words. They're good people. It's not like they don't want to talk to people. But just if you sit back and watch them go about their own routine for an hour worth of practice of how they stretch, how they get loose, how they take ABs, how they pitch on the mound, you learn a lot from them just because of their work ethic, just seeing how they go about things. And it's not one word has to be said. And there's also, like you said, you're also going to have your leaders that are leading by accountability, which is make sure that everybody's in a group chat, everybody's in line that way. And this is just also, you need leaders when you get off the field, and that's just not at practice and not at games. It's also along with your schooling and with your social life. There's a lot of different things that go into leadership, and you got to have the right combination because, as you see, not every program, team, whatever, is at the top of what they're at. You're going to have teams that are not very successful at that, and everybody's trying to find it. There's not a right formula, but obviously with Urban Meyer and like we talked about Nick Saban before, they have found the right formula for it.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing that kind of is incorporated within leadership is behavior. The performance of a team rises or falls based on behavior. Team behavior, individual behavior, whatever it is. Winning behavior is intentional, on purpose, and skillful. You have to have those 3 attributes within winning behavior to be successful. And being intentional, doing things on purpose with a purpose, and having that skillful mindset that's above the line behavior. You're living above a line. You're not allowing yourself to be below that line. It's easier to be impulsive and to be on autopilot and be resistant. And that's kind of the interesting thing that stuck out to me about this book was that below the line mentality is easy. It is the way of life that a lot of people choose to act like, because it's simple. You don't have to try. You don't have to work hard. You're just a person who goes with the flow. You don't try to achieve more than what you're already doing. Whereas above the line behavior is continually going above and beyond your natural environment.
The real quick thing there, I wouldn't say that a lot of people live below the line. I think a lot of people live at the line.
They live at the medium, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the average, and that's the median that everybody goes through, and that's just kind of flirting with, sometimes they're doing stuff that, it's taking me above the line. Now I'm going to take a day or 2 off. Well, then that's taking you right down below the line, and that's evening out, and you're just kind of living the same basic normal life. And it's no days off. I mean, I know our coach preaches that here with school. your friends, your family, girlfriends, if you have that, boyfriends, whatever, and then sports. All those 5 to 6 things go into hand in hand about every day. As soon as you get up, what are you doing to improve yourself?
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to what I was about to say is below the line is dangerous because it's comfortable and convenient. So when you're working a 9 to 5 job and you begin to be comfortable with that job and it's convenient for you because it works around your schedule, it fits everything perfectly for you. There comes a time where it's almost like, what can I do to spice things up? What can I do to maybe get a raise, a promotion? Whatever that is, that's above the line behavior. You want to keep striving and working to be better than where you're at. And I just sit back and I imagine, like, what if we had so many more of those people? So many more of those people that were willing to incorporate that behavior, because above the line behavior is conscious and thoughtful. It's a choice made that is practically alignment with your larger vision of where you want to go. Your vision tends to be what you're looking at, obviously, but it comes down to, say you're a high schooler and you have visions to be. Let me take that back. I feel like high schoolers live above the line behavior more often than adults do, because in high school it's acceptable to dream. But why is it not as acceptable to dream when you're an adult? That's facts. That's facts.
Oh, I mean, you're 100% right. It's weird because there's so many little things that you can take away from this. And I know with my life right now, there's a lot of little things that I'm trying to improve on each day. The biggest thing, like, that I'm trying to get out of this, and you are too, is telling these people to, to live above the line. This isn't going to be overnight, boom, you're just right there above the line. It's like
Process.
what I try and focus on in my life with balance of school, the podcast, baseball, all that type of stuff, still hanging out with my friends sometimes, is one thing each day to get 1% better. And I think that's the biggest thing. If I can just improve on doing a certain assignment or going, this weekend I took some time and called some of my family members. That's 1% better of living above the line. Some of those family members I haven't talked to in a while. And I think that's those little things start piecing together. And then that's when you consistently live above the line. There's a lot of meanings that go into this just 3 words, above the line.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's a process. Like you said, it's not an overnight thing. It literally requires you to wake up and say, all right, I'm going to do this every single day. I can't stop. It becomes almost an obsessive addiction to the point where, like, you want to be so great that you wake up and smile because you have that purpose. You have that willpower to imagine and dream. And that's something that, like I was mentioning, adults don't really necessarily do that. They become comfortable with their environment, and I feel like that's one thing that we have to change with our generation is it's okay to be inspired your whole lifetime.
Breaking the norm.
Yeah, you have the opportunity to dream 24/7. If you have an idea, speak on it, talk about it, work for it. But another thing that Urban Meyer mentioned in this book is event plus response equals outcome. So pretty much what that means is we don't control the events in our life and we don't directly control the outcomes. So what we have to do is we have to understand that we always have control over how we choose to respond. So big E's and big O's require big R's. So when it comes down to the events in our life that we can't control, say a family member passes away, and then the outcome is you become obsessed with not doing anything, and you kind of fall to that below the line behavior where you tend to not get off the couch because you're allowing yourself to be sad 24/7. But it's all about your response. Your response comes down to, are you capable of fighting back and standing up for who you are? And the same goes for on the football field. A bad play could happen. That's your event. The outcome could be a pick six and you're down 7. So how do you respond to that? Does your offense go back out on the field and do they look sluggish? Do they look like they don't necessarily care anymore? They've given up because there's a minute 30 left in the game and they're down 7, or do they come back out there and lead a comeback and tie this ball game up? Like that's what E plus R equals O is. And I found that to be inspiring as hell. Like And like this book, like I recommend it a lot to people because this book will not necessarily only help you in football, because it's not even directly a football book. It's more so a leadership building mentality on how to further grow yourself. Honestly, is what it is. It's a book that's teaching you, and it's not teaching you football skills, because that's not what Urban Meyer and Nick Saban do. They're not guys that are fixated on X's and O's. What they're fixated on is building a foundation, building a teamwork, business-like atmosphere that just so happens to win national championships because they're so fundamentally sound when it comes to understanding what they need to do every single day. So what do you kind of think of the E plus R equals O, Gannon?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you think, the same thing, and we're going to hit on the head a lot here, is just the full facets of life, the examples that were just running through my head while you were talking about the different scenarios. It could be the basic thing about, that you don't study hard enough for a test or an assignment you don't do well enough on. That doesn't mean that some people will just say, all right, screw it, I'm throwing in the towel and I'm not getting a good grade this semester for the class. Well, your response to that is studying harder, doing more work, so then your outcome at the end is your overall grade's better. It's so basic, but it's also so true. And I know this really hits home for me with me being a pitcher, because one of the biggest things I've focused on my mental side lately is once a bad pitch, or once I throw a pitch, good or bad, as soon as that ball hits the catcher's mitt, I'm flushing the pitch. I'm trying to, it's not always that easy, but I'm trying to flush the pitch, because there's no reason to have a bad pitch, and then if I don't have a good response to that, then the outcome's only going to get worse and worse over time.
Exactly.
The best response out of when you're pitching is good or bad pitch. The next pitch has got to be better, because that means your outcome will get better and better with getting strikeouts, ground balls, quick outs. So there's a lot of different examples with this, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's so simple, just 3 letters and 3 words. It really makes you think, but it's good. I mean, that's about all I can say.
It stuck out like glue to me on the page, and I'm like, all right, I got to highlight this. And pretty much what I do after every book that I read, I'm obviously going to talk about it on the podcast, but I also highlight individual things throughout the book that I deem to be incredibly important in my coaching style down the road. And another thing that popped up throughout that book after reading about response and events and outcomes was the 6 response factor disciplines that they teach to players. So Urban Meyer teaches six things that help players learn how to handle their responses to circumstances. Sorry, throat's tight. All right. So the first one is press pause, which pretty much what it'll allow you to do is it gives you time to think, gets you off that autopilot mentality, which is below the line, and you avoid doing something foolish or harmful, and you focus on acting with purpose. Now, that one sticks out to me like a sore thumb, because a lot of people tend to not press pause, and they tend to act off of circumstance and act off of anger, sadness, whatever it is. They act on aggression.
The outcome gets worse then because of that.
Exactly. For an example could be someone in a bar. I'm just coming up with random examples.
Yeah.
But an example could be someone in a bar. Someone spills a drink on them, and that person, instead of pressing pause and realizing, okay, this was an accident, they get fired up and a brawl starts out in the bar. So what that outcome results in is police showing up and having to shut down the bar and question people the rest of the night. So pressing pause allows you to act with purpose, act with a response to something that you're able to give it time and just relax. It's kind of like what a lot of teams do in college football, high school football, is the 24-hour rule. Whereas after a game, nothing's said between coaches and players. It's all just time for them to hit the pause button and try to understand what went wrong, what went right, and no arguments happen through those 24 hours, and then you flush it. You just flush it down the toilet and forget about that game.
Yeah. Real quick thing on that 24-hour thing. I remember watching a show on Netflix, or it was on YouTube, and now it's on Netflix. It's QB1, and it was the very first season with Tate Martell, who was at Ohio State and then at Miami. He played at Bishop Gorman, which is a national powerhouse in high school football in Las Vegas, Nevada, and their coach had the 24-hour rule for them on social media, because a lot of people get worked up and say stuff that they don't mean on social media. And Tate Martell broke the rule and tweeted about some stuff that happened in the game with one of the opposing players, and he got reprimanded because of that. But I just thought that was a really interesting rule because social media has taken over our lives for good and bad. I know that I've tried to limit my screen time, especially during the day, until I get my stuff done tonight with stuff going on. But social media can be good or bad, and it was actually interesting because that was probably back in 2016, 2017 when that season and episode came out, but that was really interesting. But yeah, just get back on track. But I just thought that was a cool little note.
Yeah, for sure. And the second one is get your mind right. You gotta realize what you gotta focus on. You gotta learn how to talk to yourself. And there's also productive versus negative mindsets. Negative mindset is where you allow yourself to be in that trash can all day. Instead of hopping out of that trash can, you sit there all day. And then it continues down a path where you consistently do not get up and get out. And that positive mindset, that productive mindset is what you gotta stand up out of that trash can, jump out, and just leap for joy. Just be someone who lives a positive mindset all the time. Get your mind right. Focus on what matters. And a lot of people have an irritated versus survival mindset. And that mindset is below the line. Both of those are below the line, which is against the purpose mindset, which is above the line. Irritated mindset and survival mindset is just where you're just living to be who you are, and you're not comfortable with change. You're not comfortable with growing. And then there's the purpose mindset where you're allowing yourself to focus up and get your mind right. So, I mean, I thought that one was kind of simple, but I mean, I think it still speaks volumes. And then the next one is step up. You got to understand your situation, understand what is required of you, and respond above the line. So, for example, a player that is a quarterback, say our quarterback goes down with an injury, QB2 has to learn how to step up. You got to understand your situation, understand your surroundings, and what's required of you. So that's another discipline factor that's taught. The next one is adjust and adapt. And I think this one also goes hand in hand with the step up one. An example of this one could be you have a couple O-linemen go down with injuries, and you need to plug and play. Plug and play and adjust and adapt are pretty much the same thing. It works hand in hand with football. It's all about understanding how to adjust, how to be able to adapt to new environment. If the environment's new to you, you got to learn how to adjust to it. So it's pretty basic, but and then the last two are make a difference and build skill. Those two are pretty much just own your experience and give others contribution to that team's culture. You want to be a team builder and help others work above their talents and become better. So I thought those 6 response factor disciplines that Urban Meyer teaches to his teams were unbelievable. Like the willingness to take part and teach those outside of X's and O's is fascinating to me. Like 2 of the top coaches, Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, that I've read about, have not said one thing about X's and O's in their books. Not one thing. It's all been about resiliency, leadership, team building, response factors, living above the line. It's insane to me. Like I can't comprehend how these teams are still able to do this and win championships when they don't care about X's and O's. They just fall into place. Like, to me, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I would say they don't care about X and O's, but they also have the rest of their staff that's doing the more X and O stuff. But the major theme I got out of this, and I'm going to keep using my experiences because I'm playing on a college program and we're 10th ranked in the country and we win a lot of games each year. But our coach he always tells us that you got to throw out the wins and losses. And the biggest thing that his goal for us when we're here for 2, 3, 4 years, however long people are here for, is to make us a better man off the field. He wants us from when we're here, day one, until the last day we're here. He wants to be able to see that we had a growth off the field and are a better man than when we came in. And he prides himself more on that than just the baseball wins and losses. Because yeah, the wins and all that are good. The same with Saban and with Urban Meyer. But all these things are, there's stuff that he's instilled me here with. There's a lot of times I practiced at 9 a.m. both days this weekend. if I didn't have practice, I would not have got up to probably noon. I don't like getting up early, but it's something I've gotten up. I'm awake now. I've done some homework already today. It's different types of stuff, and those are little things that you're going to forget about all the stats and all that once your playing career is done, even how good you were. You're going to forget a lot of that type of stuff. But all those 6 steps, the 6 R factors, that the disciplines that they teach their players, along with my coach here, are stuff that are going to stick with me and all his former players and current players for the rest of their lives and make them better men.
You literally just said everything that I needed to go into my next point. And that's how you build a culture. The way your coach establishes that culture is his own unique way, and everyone has their own unique way. But Urban Meyer's culture is a 3-part process, and it starts with believing it. Second one is selling it, and the last one is demanding it. Those 3 characteristics of building a culture are insane, because in order to build a culture, you have to have everyone all in. It's all in or nothing. Believe in it. That's what that means. Selling it. You want to literally walk around and sell that product. Just like you're in a business, you're selling a product to someone. You want to sell that product to recruits. Tell these recruits that they're coming into a program and a culture that's been established for quite some time. And that's what the Ohio States, the Oklahomas, the Alabamas of the world do. They have that established culture that people want to buy in with because it's been like that for years and years. And that's why nobody wants to go play for Illinois, because they haven't had culture for years. Now, hopefully, with the new coach, that gets established. But
yeah, he's definitely doing some right things already. But yeah, it's a lot of talk. A lot of people talk the talk, but don't walk the walk, and those go hand in hand.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, we've kind of touched on a lot of things, so I want to wrap it up with this last part and then kind of talk a little bit about how I want to implement those things into my style. But the great secret about leadership that Urban Meyer touched on was it's not about you. It's about making other people better. Leadership is more about trust that you've earned than the authority you've been granted. And that quote was nuts to me. Like, it's about the trust that you've earned more than the authority you've been granted. Like that's nuts. That's nuts to me.
That authority can go way quicker. That authority can be taken away, and the power way quicker than the trust. And it's good stuff. This is good stuff, man.
Yeah, but okay. So anyway, after kind of diving into that, like this is probably my favorite read so far. I've looked at Lincoln Riley Offensive Coordinator Handbook. I've looked at Nick Saban's book, Urban Meyer's, and I also looked at LSU's coach. Listen to his book on Audible. If you do not have Audible, I recommend you check that out. But out of all the books I've listened to or read, Above the Line speaks volumes to me because it's all about culture. It's about establishing a mindset to where it's really above the line is positive, below the line is negative. It's where if you choose to live below the line or you choose to live in that medium, like Gannon mentioned, more often than not, you're staying stagnant in your life. You're not going to go and progress forward. Above the line behavior is people that you see on the news continually getting better. Like LeBron James is 36 years old and he's playing like he's 26 years old because he continually gets better. Tom Brady is 42, 43 years old.
Yep.
And he just won his 7th ring. Those are guys that have lived with above the line mentality their entire playing careers, and it started way before that. It doesn't start when you start playing sports. It starts at the beginning of your life. And if it doesn't start then, you have to choose when to implement that. And it has to stick. It can't just be something that's on. It can't be, all right, a little funny example of what it can't be is it can't be one of those sticky balls that you get from the Wisconsin Dells when you throw it up to the ceiling and it sticks for 5 minutes. It
Wears
can't,
away.
yeah, and it falls back down. You can't have a mentality like that to where you do it every couple days and then eventually it falls back down and you're right back to that medium and that below the line mentality. It has to be a ball that sticks up on that wall for quite some time, if not forever. But so the way I kind of want to implement these things into my coaching style is I'm going to be a huge coach on culture. That's my plan is after reading about like the limited X's and O's that are talked about, and it's more based on the foundation. Like I want to, from day one, I want to earn trust from players. I want to build character, and I also want to develop that resilient mindset. And I don't really quite have an example of how I will do that yet, and that's something that I want to dive into more. However, I believe if I'm able to do those things and kind of teach players to live above the line, then I think our team will be way better off than a team that's living stagnant or below the line. So, Ganny, you got anything left you want to say about this?
No, I mean, you hit some good points, and I feel like we kind of hit it on the head a lot. I want to switch. I want to stay on the Urban Meyer topic, but I kind of want to throw you a question here. What are you seeing? How are you seeing how Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to go hand in hand with him being his first season in the NFL? Because I know we've talked about this, and we got some differing points on this, but I kind of just want to get your take since we're on the topic of him. We might as well discuss it.
See, all right, I'm a fan of Urban Meyer. I mean, he's had some questionable things happen throughout his career, and the media has always kind of given him a lot of hate in a way. I mean, he's also loved. It's a love-hate relationship with Urban Meyer, I feel like. But I'm glad you asked that question because I think a lot of people are intrigued to see what he does with the Jaguars. His first time in the NFL. Obviously, it didn't work out for a guy like Nick Saban. But I think that Urban Meyer's heading into a perfect situation where he has, I don't know the exact number right now, but I think it's like $85 million to spend in free agency. So if they spend that money right and they have the right GM to help them do that, I mean, obviously they won a single game last year, this past season. They also have the number one pick in the draft where they're going to get Trevor Lawrence. So you have your building block right there, and you have a guy that's worked with some pretty great talent at quarterback in Tim Tebow, Alex Smith at Utah, and he's worked with guys that are special. Like, and he's helped transcend their game to the NFL. Now it's about whether he's going to be able to transcend his own game to the NFL. And personally, I think he will. I really do. And I think it may take – I don't really know how long he's going to be there, but I think it will take 2 to 3 years to see a Jacksonville Jaguar team be pretty competitive again. But right now, I could see them next year being like maybe a 5-6 win team, maybe 7. I don't see them getting above 7 wins really, but I think Urban Meyer will demand the culture. He will demand a culture change in Jacksonville, which is a culture they haven't had in years. And it will be quite interesting to see 2 Florida teams that down the road may be pretty legit. 2 Florida teams. That'd be kind of interesting to see. But so what do you think about Urban Meyer? I know you don't necessarily believe in it.
No, I mean, I don't think it's going to be bad. There's just a lot of question marks right now because, the main thing, I've read a lot about this, and there's a lot of Urban Myers has always been the dominant recruiter going in because there's a lot of different tactics that you use being a college coach, especially with the scholarship money. You can hold a lot of stuff over people's heads and make sure you can get players come to your school. And that's the opposite when you're men in the free agency and the salary cap and front office moves in the NFL. I think it's going to be a little different. I'm not sure if it's fair to compare it with Nick Saban because Nick Saban was a lot younger at the time when he got the NFL head coaching job. Yeah. And he's going to have a lot more pieces. I mean, he's had one of the best rookie running backs in James Robinson. They got Laura Chenault, Keenan Cole. They got some weapons there. And then obviously with Trevor Lawrence. But that culture thing's interesting because he got off to a really bad start with his culture, hiring Chris Doyle as the strength and conditioning coach there. Because I know a lot about that because I'm a big Iowa Hawkeye fan, and he got let go this past summer with making really bad, inappropriate racial comments to people at Iowa during strength and conditioning workouts. And I'm glad that somehow they reached a settlement. However, whoever brought it up that he's no longer there, he was only on the Jaguar staff for one day. That just wasn't very smart for Urban Meyer to get off to a good start in the NFL. And we'll see how it comes back. But like you said, I think it's going to take 3 to 5 years for this to get going because you got to bring players in. And it's a lot of stuff with the salary cap. But I'm still up in the air 50-50 on how it's going to work out. It's just a big change from the college and the NFL. And there's not a whole lot of people that have been successful at both. But if he is, more power to him.
Yeah. And I think with that Doyle hire, he tended to hire a guy that he's been friends with for years. And I think he kind of didn't understand what he was getting.
Oh, he just flat out didn't think. He didn't think.
And he acted based on relationship, which I mean, if you're like put yourself in his shoes, and and you got a best friend that messed up, and maybe he said some terrible things, and I get it. He probably doesn't belong in the league at all, and probably doesn't for years.
He doesn't belong having another football job after the stuff he says.
Yeah.
It is really bad stuff that he said. And, that's the thing. You're trying to get 20, 30-year-old grown men to buy into that just for the lifting culture and that type of stuff. It's even more so than college guys who are 18, 19-year-old that need more guidance. These grown men have their mindset made up of already what they know and what they want in their life.
Oh, and they're not gonna put up with that.
That's
crap.
what he could be your friend at the end of the day, but the PR stuff and all that, the more thing I was shocked on is that, because obviously he has to run this through somebody before he can just make his own hires, that somebody was like, hey, wait a second here. This is not the smartest thing. Let's look in another direction. That's kind of what shocked me the most when I saw the hire.
Well, it's not necessarily that, because head coaches don't really have to run that through anybody. You don't have to, because Mike McCarthy put together his whole entire staff. I mean, it's also based on GM blessing. If they're allowing you to put your staff together, then you don't really have to run it by anybody. It's more based on relationships you've established. So I think that's what Urban did. He acted on his relationship and didn't think about the bad rep that he was going to get for it. And it got corrected. He's no longer with the team. But another coach I want to look out for next year, now that you bring up Urban Meyer, and what I think he'll do his first year, is Dan Campbell with the Lions. That guy is awesome. He literally is such an inspiring coach, and his interviews are hilarious. Like, he's electric. And I honest to God, like, the staff he's putting together, I would not be surprised within the next couple of years when Aaron Rodgers retires, which is, hopefully soon, but when Aaron Rodgers retires, I'm going to see them Lions in first place, see them Bears in last place, see the Packers in second to last, and then the Vikings in second, Lions in first. It's going to be like my life just started over. It's going to be great.
Yeah, then wonder what the Cowboys are going to be doing at quarterback by then. But, no, I think that Campbell's a good hire. I think that I really think Jared Goff's going to blossom. There's just something in my gut that just feels like Jared Goff. I know there's a lot of money attached to the man, but he loves his tight end, and T.J. Hockenson in Detroit is a legit tight end.
All right, Mr. Iowa guy.
There's just he had a hell of a year as a Pro Bowler, but
yeah, they might be losing Kenny Galladay though.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big loss, but we'll see. Right. Packers run the North like always.
We're getting away from our points, but I mean, once we start talking sports, we kind of ramble on. But yeah, I think this was a great thing to touch on today's episode. I'm excited for you guys to hear this one, and I'm very excited for you guys to get to know our special guest on Wednesday. Stay tuned for that, and I'll let Gannon wrap this one up.
Yeah. Thank you guys again. Keep the views and stuff have really been going off. I know we check out our new TikTok. I know stuff's been going off really well with that. And with our YouTube, subscribe, view, like, comment. I mean, any feedback. I know we keep hitting this on the head each week. Give us some feedback, because we promise we will put it in, good or bad, because we'll take bad feedback. If there's something wrong that you guys aren't liking or that we're not doing well, and we'll go back and rewatch stuff, because I rewatch our videos 5, 6, 7 times a week to see how we talk. I know we talk about improving that type of stuff, but just keep showing us the love and supporting us, because you're going to be sorry if you didn't. That's all I got to say.
Facts. And I'm here to tell anybody that does not like me sending them stuff, unadd me. I do not need to be friends with you. I'm simply doing this to promote our podcast and help myself in the future. I felt like it was necessary to say it. We will see you Friday. Appreciate you guys, and I promise you're not going to want to miss this episode we got coming to you Friday.